Good evening and welcome to the Holy Spirit's Blog Talk Radio Show. I'm your host, Minister G.L. Harden, and thank you all for tuning in. We have a wonderful show planned for you tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about hunger and poverty in America. We did a show on this subject sometime last year, and I really wanted to get back to this subject because the numbers are out and we're seeing more and more people that are really struggling to really live and just make ends meet. As you may have seen or not seen in the latest news and all on social media, there's so many different fast food chains. There was back in New York City some months ago, there was an incident or a strike, so to speak, where many of the workers or employees of all the fast food restaurants, they decided to go on strike and demanding higher wages. And it sparked a nationwide throughout the Midwest and up north. And here we are now in the South, and there has been a spark of a nationwide throughout the southern regions of many people banding together and declaring better wages and better. And the thing about it, they're not even asking for better benefits. They're simply asking for a decent wage to live. And before I even begin dealing with this subject, I'm going to go ahead and give you the number to call in if you feel free to call in. And that number is area code 347-215-7187. And if you know anyone who works in a fast food restaurant of any kind, please give us a call and let us know how you feel about this situation or how they feel about it as well. But people beware, for those of you who do not know the intricacies and the details surrounding the reasoning behind people going on boycotts and what have you, you might want to take a deeper look, because so many people look down upon employees in the service industry altogether. Such an amazing thing that the service industry is probably in the top 5 as far as jobs. And there was an article back in Forbes magazine some years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that said that the service industry by 2020 will have added nearly 20 million new jobs in the U.S. alone. 20 million new jobs. And this had nothing to do with the government, but just the matter of this industry. And you're talking from renting a car, from buying an airline ticket, from going to a fast food restaurant, going to your favorite department store. But this is the service industry. Checking into a hotel. Wonderful industry, either service or hospitality. And I've been in it myself for nearly 30 years. And it has been a wonderful and fulfilling 3 decades of serving people of all kinds. Because in this industry, you're going to serve some of the most racist, demonic people you could ever find. But even them, even they need some type of serving. And the people who are in this industry are people who are very people-oriented. They love people, and they love pleasing people. And that is a wonderful thing to be, have that type of nature within yourself. It's so amazing that when you can go to a restaurant and have an incident dealing with a person's, say at a restaurant, a person's order, and right away they call you a moron. or an idiot. Not knowing that day you were evicted. Your mother was diagnosed with cancer. Your son hadn't come home in 2 days. You were beaten by your spouse the night before. Have no clue. And they really don't care. And the reason why they don't care is because they feel their dollar carries more weight than their own human instincts to show kindness and patience and understanding, even with people that are serving you. And I know it sounds like I'm off subject, but I'm going somewhere with this. That's why I wanted to dive right into this. And the mere fact that people say, I didn't ask for this job. You know, you asked for this job. You signed up for this job, so you knew what you were getting into. Well, I'm gonna shut that down in a moment as well. So I'm setting this thing up to show you and give you facts and the reality of this thing is. Because we're always thinking somebody is either uneducated, they drop out of school, you know, they were on drugs, they were in a gang, they're in a halfway house, so now they got a low bottom of the barrel type of job. And that is not the case no longer, people. I'm sorry. You don't have anybody to step on any longer. This entire week dealing on the Holy Spirit's Blog Talk radio show, and as well as the By His Blood Ministries, this entire week is based on unity. And as you know, our slogan on the Holy Spirit's Blog Talk radio show is unity in the community. And the Holy Spirit has given me this week to deal all week long. Most of these shows are going to be dealing with unity of some kind. Because we're all God's people. From Wall Street to Walmart, we're all God's people. I'm sorry. You aren't anything special because you drive a Maybach. Or you live in some high-end neighborhood. Because we all got to rest. We all got to get to someplace. And we all got to eat and drink. You do nothing any different than anybody else. No matter what you do in your day, where your travels take you, you do the exact same things each and every human being on this planet does per day. You just cherish finer things, more expensive things. And they are just grateful for the simple things. So when we talk about hunger and poverty in America, again, many of the fast food chains have began to form a strike union of some sort. And lately, it had happened in the South region, particularly in Atlanta, Georgia. Many restaurant people have gone on major networks and have declared poverty. Because we know poverty creates hunger. This young woman in particular, she's a 19-year-old. She's a mother of one. As a one-year-old child. She works at a fast food restaurant and she gets paid $200 every 2 weeks. And that's because most fast foods, they try to keep you between 15 and 25 hours a week at $7.50 an hour. You do the math on that one. Her daycare is $100 a week. So her daycare alone is $400 a month. But her salary after taxes is roughly $400 a month. That leaves nothing to eat. Nothing, no medication, no health care, no dental, No, definitely no housing. You can't even ride. You can't even ride a bus. And shame on you for sitting there believing, well, they brought it on themselves. You should have had a kid. And yet, we know now that statistics have shown that most people who work at these fast food chains, the average age is 26 years of age. And nearly half of them has a bachelor's degree. And that's because of so many jobs being shut down. Being laid off. And now the new thing, President Obama is talking about the economy. But here's the trick, people. The reason why you see the numbers looking so well isn't because people are being hired full time. The trick is now, we'll beat him to the punch. He wants to do Obamacare? Let him. We'll hire people part-time so they can afford Obamacare. And, if they, and we're not going to pay for insurance. Make them get their own insurance and let them pay for Obamacare. Everything that this world is about personal gain and games. Grown men and women are playing with the lives of the people of God each and every waking day. Every demonic thing that they can do, they're doing. They're doing, people. And what a shame that is. Here you have Walmart having 1.2 million employees. Out of all the employees they got, 1.2 million are on some type of welfare assistance. Food stamps. Housing. Section 8. Medicaid. And what's the trickery behind this is this. Every time you swipe that EBD card, Walmart gets a percentage of that money. So you see Walmart promotes welfare. This major super retail giant, it promotes welfare because they benefit from it. Because those same employees who work for them now spend their dollars in their store. Man, it's a win-win for Walmart. It's so beautiful, and to them, it's not beautiful, but I'm saying to them, they're laughing all the way to the bank. All the way to the bank. Because no one is in an uproar about it. Because everybody thinking they're getting the rollback. All these rollbacks. And Walmart is just cutting back. They're being sued left and right, violating every person's rights as women and men as possible. And they paying them because they got the money. $1 billion lawsuit? That ain't nothing to Walmart. That's a drop in the bucket. That's why they've hired all these former Secret Servicemen. Because anybody step out of line with Walmart, you're going to get dealt with. You're going to get dealt with. So I want to look at these numbers dealing with hunger. I'm going to give you some poverty facts. Then I'm going to give you some myths about poverty in the U.S. and the stereotypes that people use so much. But for now, I'm going to talk about hunger. And wonderful article I saw in Bread for the World magazine talked about hunger. And one of the things it talked about was that 14.5% of the U.S. households struggle to put enough food on their table, and nearly 48 million Americans, including 15.9 million children live in these households. And more than 1 in 5 is at risk of hunger. Among African Americans and Latinos, nearly 1 in 3 child is at risk of hunger. In poverty, you're talking more than 1 in 7 people in the U.S. lives below the poverty line, which is around $23,000 per year, per family, that is, of 4. That was back in 2010. More than 1 in 5 children in the U.S. lives below the poverty line. Most Americans, 51%, will live in poverty at some point before the age of 65. That means, what is it? How many is it? About 4 billion people in America, or whatever it is. Half of them, before they hit 65, will live in poverty at some point of their life. 65% of low-income families have at least 1 working member, and 79% of single mothers who had household work. And in most areas, a family of 4 needs to earn twice the poverty line to provide children with basic necessities. So you're saying a family of 4 needs to make twice the poverty line. So if it's $22,000, then that family needs to make $88,000 just to provide children with basic necessities, people. Basic necessities. $88,000. Nationally, more than 44% of children live in low-income working families who earn less than twice the poverty line. A person working full-time at the minimum wage earns about $14,500 a year. So even if you full-time, listen to me, if you full-time at McDonald's, making minimum wage, you're gonna earn $14,500. So after taxes, around about $10,000 a year. The official poverty line for a family of 3, 1 parent with 2 children, is $17,000. That's poverty. $17,000 below that is poverty. This person is full-time, makes $14,500. It's amazing. Simply amazing. And there's so much of this is just unthinkable. Truly unthinkable. You look at this thing statewide, it will certainly blow your mind. Truly. 16.9% of Georgia households struggle to put food on the table. This is in Georgia. My goodness. So you're talking even though the recession is over, too many Georgian families remain in need. For example, in 2010, 17.9% of people in Georgia, including 24.8% of children, live below poverty line, which is $22,113 for a family of 4, compared to the 15.1% of all persons and 22% of children nationwide. So Georgia is way above the national level in poverty. 136,733 families lived in extreme poverty here in Georgia. Less than $11,057 a year for a family of 4. That's amazing. The national poverty for a family of 4 is 22,000. In Georgia, it's half, 11,000. So amazing. So amazing. 27.9% of children in the state were at risk of hunger in 2009 compared to 16.6% nationwide. And of course, it says Georgia needs jobs to grow the economy. And Georgia's unemployment rate was 9.2% in January 2012 compared to 8.3% nationwide. Astounding numbers. Astounding numbers, people. And what's so sad about it, it goes on and on. On and on. You had a situation where all these banks got all that money. All these major firms, savings, and all these mutual savings. Got all that money. And yet, nobody went to jail. Nobody gave anything back except for a few banks paid off the debt. But dealing with the housing market, not one family was able to regain their house out of foreclosure. When you look at hunger in the U.S., there are many facets of hunger. And the U.S. is leading, it's catching up with third world countries, people. That's how serious it is. This is why I wanted to bring you the show tonight. Very serious. In the U.S., hunger is not caused by a scarcity of food. There's more than enough food to feed everyone. And we know this. We have the infrastructure to deliver it. But there's a network of interstate highways and trucking industry ready to move mountains of food daily wherever it needs to go. The supermarket store shelves are stocked to the ceiling. But none of this matters if customers have no money in their pockets. Poverty spoils every meal. Around the world, wherever poverty exists, hunger is sure to exist as well. This is not surprising, and for some time, governments around the world have recognized the two are inseparable. And this organization, MDG, Millennium Development Goals, set up human development targets that put reducing hunger and poverty together at the top of the list. And all the other goals follow from these. And the MGD, introduced at the United Nations back in 2000, they have been accepted by all UN member countries, including the US. And the deadline for meeting them is 2015. People, it's not going to happen. Here it is. This Millennial Development Goal was put together by all United Nations way back in 2000 to find a way to not to end hunger, but to reduce it. And it's supposed to meet a deadline of 2015, 1 year from now. And besides reducing global hunger and extreme poverty by half, the MGDs include improving child health care, slowing the spread of infectious diseases, achieving universal primary education, and providing wider access to basic services such as portable water, sewage treatment. And the MDGs apply all countries, not just the least developed. As a country which has accepted MDGs, the U.S. must be committed to achieving them at home. Poverty in the U.S. has been measured for decades, and measuring hunger, or what the U.S. government is more comfortable calling food insecurity, is more recent phenomenon. Once annual food insecurity data was collected beginning in 1995, it became clear that the ups and downs in food insecurity lined up closely with changes in poverty. And the United States has done a much better job fighting hunger than it has poverty. Hunger is simpler issue in some ways. Food stamp programs, the special supplement nutrition program for women, infants, and children, the National School Lunch Program, and 12 other nutrition programs run by the U.S. The Department of Agriculture serves millions of U.S. residents every day. All of these resources are needed, and when government programs are not enough, there is also a robust network of emergency food providers to fill the gaps. The ancient Chinese maxim still rings true. Feed a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach him to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. Family becomes hunger-free when they can provide for themselves. The solution is simple. Jobs that pay enough for their family to live on. It says the ancient Chinese maxim still rings true. Feed a man a fish, and he eats for a day. Teach him to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. That is biblical, people. Not a Chinese maximum. That's biblical. All this comes back to unity. Any way you slice this thing, it is unity. That's why I tell people so often that we're going to have to begin to grow our own fruits and or vegetables. Just cut meat out entirely. I'm talking about cutting out fish, cutting out beef, chicken, whatever. Cut all of it out and begin to live off the fruits and the seeded plants. That's biblical. That's actually how God intended us to live, off of the earth and nothing else. Nothing else, people. And we're going to have to get back to that. You know, there's so many things. There's so many ways that people can really begin to purchase different products. And not expensive. You can get a shoebox and plant some tomatoes, some lettuce, cucumbers. You'd be amazed. Kale, spinach, herbs of any kind. So many things that we can do now to help ourselves that won't cost you nothing. I remember growing up, my mother would buy these seeds. They were so big back in those days in the 80s, and really before then, but particularly in the 80s because we live in a nice suburbia home and, you know, well-to-do home, and my father was, you know, was a businessman, and he's also a deacon minister. So we were pretty well off, middle-class family. But yet my mother had enough sense to grow tomatoes and potatoes, huh? Watermelon she grew, cucumbers, basil, thyme, oregano. She grew these things in our own backyard. And that's an awesome thing when as a family you can begin to grow your own fruits and or vegetables and watch them grow. You can go to right now Home Depot or Lowe's, in these nurseries, and they will teach you just how to you can get you some plywood and some dirt to lift up the dirt and begin to grow your own garden. And there you're grabbing spinach, tomatoes, cucumbers, kale, spinach, potatoes out of your own garden. Making lettuce, wraps, beans, all types of beans you can grow by your own hands.
10 seconds.
That's how God intended us to live off of people, and how He wanted us to live. Let me tell you something. You can go right now to YouTube and Google tower garden. Wonderful device they have that you can get a tower garden and have it in your own. Even if you're in an apartment or high rise, you don't need no house or home. Just Google tower garden and watch on YouTube how this thing feeds a family of four. Will blow your mind. Will simply blow your mind of how you can grow all these things and be able to feed your family throughout the entire year. So amazing. And then the other things you may need, you know, there's so many. I mean, you got to get creative, people, with life. Unity, again. Take your neighbors and your children or whatever, and go to some of these, you know, these farms, and you know, and see where you can pick your own pecans, your own peanuts. Spend a weekend doing it. Unifying your family and having a fellowship with your neighbors. Now you got pecans and nuts and all these things that you know, raisins, all these things that you went to a farm somewhere and you helped them pick them, and in lieu of that, you come home with a bag, a 5-10 pound bag of peanuts and walnuts. Or go to an orange grove, peach grove. And all these things, you're building a bond with your family and your neighbors. Wonderful show we're going to be doing this Sunday, dealing with unity. I hope you guys can tune in for that show as well. I'm going to talk about, there's 10 myths dealing with poverty and hunger, especially with lower income families. And one is this. They say black dads are the problem. I'm going to give you a statistic, though. Among men who don't live with their children, did you know that black fathers are more likely than white or Hispanic dads to have a daily presence in their kids' lives? How about the one about single moms are the problem? But only 9% of low-income urban moms have been single throughout their child's first 5 years. Only 9% of them. 35% were married or in a relationship with the child's father for the entire time. How about absentee dads? That's a problem. That's a problem. But yet, 60% of low-income dads see at least one of their child daily. Another 16% see their child weekly. 60% of low-income dads, people, see at least one of their child on a daily basis. You know why? Because either they got to pick that child up from somewhere or take that child somewhere. Another one is poor people are lazy. These are some of the myths people say to themselves. But listen, back in 2004, there were at least one adult with a job and 60% of families on food stamp that had both kids and a non-disabled working age adult. So you got somebody in the house that's disabled or non-disabled, and you got 2 kids minimum, and you have a job. And another crazy myth is this: if you're not officially poor, then you're okay. But yet the federal poverty line for a family of 2 parents and 2 children in 2012 was $23,283. And the basic need cost, again, as I told you, is nearly 4 times that amount in over 600 cities and regions in America. How about people go to college and get out of poverty? Back in 2012, about 1.1 million people who made less than $25,000 a year, they worked full time and were heads of households, and they already had bachelor degrees. I told you, most of these people in these fast food chain, they lost their great job. Their job never came back. I'm gonna go even further. My own sister, 30 years old, works at McDonald's with a degree and cries nightly. Did everything right. Went to college, got the degree, bought herself a house, bought her a car, paid for the car, living the dream, as they call it. But I say it's the nightmare. And now she's part-time at McDonald's. Never saw, and get this, people, she's 30, and this is her second home. She's owned 2 homes before 30. A1 credit. Laid off. And at McDonald's. So again, next time you see some of these people in these stores, and you got the audacity to think that they're peons because you got your little office, your little cubicle, but you're going in there to buy that cancer and that deadly burger, you get the nerve to laugh at them. But yet you're eating a burger that if you put it on a shelf, it'll never rot. Neither will the bread. I saw a friend of mine 2 years ago bought a meal from McDonald's. And every time you come over her house, she shows you that same meal with them French fries look just like it came from the store. Just like it came from the store. And you're putting that in your bodies. While you're looking down upon somebody, you're putting all these chemicals in it's chemicals. How the hell can a hamburger and some fries not mold or even smell? And you're feeding this to your children. The joke's on you. Another idiotic myth is that we're winning the war on poverty. But the number of households with children living in less than $2 a day per person has grown to 160% since 1996. So now you got 1.65 million families in 2011. Almost 2 million people are living on less than $2 a day in the United States of America. People, that means they sharing, they ain't eating Roman noodles, they sharing Roman noodles. Eating cereal and eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Glory to God. Another one is the handouts are bankrupting us. But yet in 2012, people, all you folks that think that the handout, as you call them, are bankrupting us, back in 2012, the total welfare funding was 0.47% of the federal budget. That's all they gave to welfare funding is 0.47. Do you know why? The rest went on what? Big banks and the military. Remember that. I didn't say school. Didn't say healthcare. I said big banks and the military. Another one is homelessness are drunk street people. This one gets me all the time because I hear it all the time about people. He's an alcoholic or she's an alcoholic. Let me tell you something. 1 in 45 kids in the United States experience homelessness each year. In New York City alone, there are 22,000 children that are homeless. This is in New York City. 22,000 children in New York City are homeless. But in Georgia, there are 16,000. 16,000 children are homeless in Georgia, and 22,000 in New York City, and almost 30,000 in the great state of California. So amazing. It's so amazing. Here we are in the richest nation in the world. And yet, people are hungry, can't find jobs. No one really gives a damn. Everybody has their own opinion about why someone is homeless or jobless. And the words lazy, drugs, drunk, all those myths that you're throwing out are so far from the truth. When we as a people begin to love one another, and what's so sad about this, I'm going to continue to speak about unification and love. You know why? Because it's so simple that people miss it. And you know why? Because they're ignorant. They really think that there's some huge meeting of the minds that has to come together with all these great people to really sift out what needs to be done. When biblically, in the Word, all Christ speaks of is love and oneness. People, it doesn't get as simple, much easier than that. This is no rocket science to poverty, to hunger. Very simple. Once we begin to take care of our brothers, take care of one another, all this stuff fades. All this stuff fades. No more need to play the government game. Someone beginning to create a place where you know they grow herbs and fruits in their neighborhoods and share them. Someone does soap and lotion. This is what it's going to get back to. You're going to have to go back to the earth, to Mother Nature, and start creating your own soaps, your own bleach, your own skincare, your own clothes, mothers, sewing your own clothes. And this is your trade and your bargain with your neighbors. Because they're going to make money so hard to come by that you're going to have to kill somebody to get it. But if you're unified as one, there'll never be a day you go hungry or without food, without clothes, without shelter. Not one day it will ever happen. And that's what they don't want you to ever figure out. That you have the power from within to end everything instantly. You don't need no government, no ruling, no new legislation, no new bill to pass. That's why Monsanto's, all these people can put so much stuff in your food right now, because they know sooner or later they're going to create a hunger scare. And that's when they're going to leash out everything they can in your food to kill you. Or to have your brain dysfunction. Because when the calamities hit, you'll be numb to it because of what you're drinking and what you're eating. And you'll sign your life away. You'll begin doing the hand scans, the barcoding in your skin. Because you've eaten all these things in your body to where you don't know no better.